Right. So yeah, hi everyone. My name is Juan Ramirez, and I'm the product designer for Runner and Testing. But today I'm going to be talking specifically about something that we have been doing in the Runner group, and it's a very interesting topic. I picked this topic because I think that runners is something that we always hear about them. We always know about them, but I don't think like everyone understands them well. So yeah, it's a very interesting topic. It's called frictionless runners, and I'm gonna be talking about the problem validation that we have been doing around this. But I'm also gonna take some time to briefly explain what the runners are and like their role in the whole GitLab stack. So uh, before I jump into that, yeah, just the classic mention to all the team here. A lot of people involved in this group. This is a group that has a lot of interesting dependencies. It's very backend, and we mostly have backend developers working on this. But there's of course some front end and some UI implications that impact our customers. And I'm going to be talking about those things in a little bit. All right, so the goal, or what was the problem that we're trying to validate here? So if you go to the direction page in GitLab, you'll find that there's a very significant 3-year goal for the verify group, and that goal is provide 100% automated setup, configuration, scaling, and management of the GitLab runners for medium to large enterprises. So this is a very big goal. You know, it's somehow a little bit vague because there's many things here like automation, configuration, scaling, and this can have many angles. It can be interpreted in many ways, but basically what this means in essence is that what we're trying to do with the runners is allow our customers who need them to be able to provide them or provision them in a very easy way. And right now we have methods to allow our customers to provision runners, but they are not as great, and they definitely can create hiccups when they are trying to use this. And the reason why this is so important is because the runners are the heart of our CI offering. They power our CI. We couldn't have our continuous integration offering if it wasn't for the runners, and I'll explain that in a bit. So the problem to validate here is the runner installation, configuration, and management are presumed to be a hard manual process for our customers. So what are the challenges that our customers are facing when they're dealing with those runners and with the runner installation? So yeah, I wanted to first explain what's a runner. I don't think everyone here understands well what's a runner, and that's totally fine. That's one of the great things about GitLab. You can get so far with doing CI without ever knowing what's a runner, because when you use gitlab.com, we have our own managed offering of runners, and as long as you have a valid GitLab CI YAML file, we are gonna run those jobs for you. We're gonna do all the things for you. So it's almost by design that runners are a little bit opaque, and that yeah, they're not necessarily a concept that you will bump into frequently. But I think it's very important to understand what they are. So basically what you're seeing here, and this is a graph, I didn't do this graph, I just found this online. So it's interesting that someone did the job of making the explanation easier with a graph. But basically when you have a GitLab stack, you have several things, right? You have your GitLab installation if you are self-hosted, and you also could have your own self-hosted runners, right? And what the runners are is, the runner is an agent that basically takes the jobs that are being created by GitLab, and GitLab will delegate those jobs to the runner, and the runner will build and do all the executions that are happening in the context of that CI configuration. So this is a very important difference, right? GitLab is one thing, GitLab Runner is another thing. Most cases, they live in different machines. They are operated in different ways. Even internally, we have different release processes for this, and we have different release timelines for this. So when 13.0 or 13.1 goes out, that doesn't mean that the runner is going out with that. It usually ships with different cadences. It has different dependencies. It's a completely different animal. And the interesting things about the runners is that the runners are, yeah, they're another part of the stack, and you can install them anywhere, right? You can install them locally, you can install them on AWS, you can install them on Google Cloud, you can use them with Kubernetes, with Docker, with Shell. There's so many things that you could do, and props to the runner team because they have created such a beast. You know, it's an incredible piece of technology, and I don't think there's any company in this space that has such a complex build agent like GitLab Runner. So yeah, it's very interesting, and we have been slowly making them more complex and more interesting. Some things that have been happening lately is that we now have shared Windows runners, and we are soon going to have shared macOS runners. And what that means is that there's runners that are installed in Windows machines or macOS machines, and they can do specific things on those environments. I think one important thing that I wanted to mention here is that there's a big difference between a shared runner in GitLab.com and a shared runner, or like runner in general. And the shared runners are the runners that are provided by GitLab, and they are managed by GitLab. And those are the ones that are consumed by our customers through CI minutes. So our customers pay for CI minutes, and then we basically auto scale, and we have this internal process that allow any project in GitLab.com to delegate jobs to the shared runners. And I'll talk a little bit about that in a minute. So those are the runners. So the problem validation research was basically talking with customers, trying to understand why are they using self-hosted runners when they are using GitLab.com, right? Because if you're in GitLab.com, you have the ones that are managed with GitLab. Why are you choosing to pick another machine and registering those runners in a different machine? So yeah, there's an interesting angle to that when you see this. We also were interested in knowing where they are currently hosting the runners, what's the process in installing and managing the runners, and their biggest pain points when it comes to dealing with the runners. And of course, we wanted to see what are their impressions when it comes to improving the runner experience. So the current findings and the trends, and this is a little bit fluid, and it's gonna change because, as I said before, runner is an animal. Many things are happening, and this is a complex space, and competitors are also trying to do many interesting things in this space. But the current findings are that first of all, people who use self-hosted runners, they do it primarily out of security concerns. So they probably have compliance issues. Maybe they're working with the government, and I mean, they trust GitLab because they use GitLab, but they definitely cannot trust that those jobs are being handled in all those compliant manners. So they have to go on basically self-host that runner in a machine of their own and figure out the security details on their own. So that's one thing that we found. The other thing that we found is that AWS seems to be a very popular option to host runners. It's just basically what most people pick. So that's an interesting finding. We also found that GitLab, when it comes to buying GitLab and kind of like trying to justify GitLab as cost center, many people have trouble explaining the concept of CI minutes. And basically customers want more predictable cost rubrics, and they really want the runner to be part of a more holistic offering in terms of pricing. Also, we found that developers in general don't consider the process of installing a runner painful. I mean, that's an interesting finding because we thought it was painful, but they have more issues with configuring them and managing them. And especially when you're doing like non-Kubernetes installations. There's a lot of caveats. And the other thing that we found is that customers are very excited about the idea of automating these. We told them about it, about our ideas, and they were super excited. They said, yeah, I would like to see these. Although I don't have problems with installation, I think it will be ideal to make this better and automate it. We also believe that the reason why they don't find the installation problematic is because that's another thing by design of the runners. You do it once and then you forget about it. You never have to touch them again, only for updating. But yeah, I mean, that's probably the reason. They just have to go through the pain once. It's not a common thing. So we explore many things, and we have been exploring many things. One of the explorations that I did was trying to find the friction that we have right now, especially when they are provided inside GitLab, in what's supposedly the smooth way of providing them, which is creating a cluster from GitLab and then installing them through that cluster. And yeah, we found that there's a lot of cognitive load. There's many things that are not working that well, and that's fine. Many of these things are not even our fault. Many of these things are the fault of AWS, Google Cloud, that have their own problems in terms of UI and friction. But it's good to understand that there's issues there and that we might need to improve upon that. There was a very interesting thing that I found. Someone mentioned this on a channel. There's this indie developer who created a website that it's called GitLabRunners.com. And what that service does is basically provision self-hosted runners in a managed way. So this person basically creates a machine for you, installs a runner for you, and it basically makes very easy the process of installing a runner. And they sell it in a way that in which they kind of like try to say that the main benefit is speed. So it's interesting to see that there's some kind of like speed concerns about self-hosted GitLab runners. But yeah, it's also interesting to see that this exists and it seems to have certain demand. So it could be potentially a business model or a business opportunity for GitLab down the road. So yeah, I did analysis on these. Not gonna go into much detail, but it's it also kind of like shows some of the friction that we have in certain points. And we also did an exploration analyzing the naming. So we have a lot of concepts. We have shared runners managed by GitLab. We have shared runners using self-hosted instances. We have group runners, which behave a little bit like shared runners. So there's many things on these, and we have been doing an analysis on these because we also want to improve the naming and make sure that we're not creating collisions in that namespace, and that the offering is very clear to our customers that when they hear about a runner, they know what the runner that they are using is doing. All right, so a lot of stuff going on. So we are working in many areas to improve this, and this is gonna be a large effort. This is 13.1, 13.2, and beyond. But yeah, the things that we're working on right now, it's basically improving the experience of the GitLab runner management to match what we have in the self-hosted. So this is basically the idea of managing many runners from a group level, reducing the friction to get runner installation instructions. Right now, when you do that, you have to go to the documentation, open the documentation, read a bunch of things. Now we're gonna create this new UI that basically it's gonna show up all the installation instructions from the GitLab UI without leaving the UI. We are also working in providing new ways to provision runners, especially using infrastructure as code and using things like Terraform or AWS CloudFormation. So that's gonna be another interesting thing. And we're also exploring the idea of having one-click installation images through all the cloud marketplaces like AWS Marketplace, Google Cloud Marketplace, DigitalOcean Marketplace, Azure Marketplace. So that's gonna be another way to make these very frictionless. But this is very complex. I can keep talking about that, but this is more or less the picture that I wanted to give you guys. And that's what I have. Thank you.